somebody springs out, holds a weapon, like a knife, at you, and takes your money. That's going to happen tonight. Well, students are happy that I say it. But you have a choice. You have a choice. You can either be robbed in that unlit parking lot by a white robber and lose, because you have it with you, $100. Or you can be robbed by a black robber with a knife and lose what you have, which is $20. Which will you take? The white robber losing 100, or the black 20? Well, you know what the student's going to say. I'll take the white robber anytime. They both have knives. They're both rather rough-looking guys. Why? Now we get to it. And again, notice what I'm doing. This is, you know, I'm with white people all the time, so I know how we think and act. The reason why we choose the white robber is that we're afraid that the black guy, after he takes our $20 or whatever we have, will then proceed to do something else to pay back what our people have done to his people. That's our fear. And that's our fear. It's that we know, by the way, that what he's doing, we deserve that. We know we've done those things. And we're not just talking about slavery years ago. And that's what our fear is. So, in this sense, we have black crime and
What is it that's causing this? Is it a conspiracy? Is it just black men, for the most part, succumbing to the pressures of society and opting out to a subculture of crime and self-destruction? Some folks say it's a conspiracy. Some of our more militant brothers, they'll point to America's early history and say that America has a history of using black folks and black men in particular for free or cheap labor. They'll say that at the invention of the cotton gin, slavery was no longer necessary, and outward technology, the cotton gin, no longer necessitated slaves, so that game ran out. So then came the Industrial Revolution, put the unskilled labor in the factories, work long hours for small dollars. Then came the technological revolution, and that played out. No more unskilled labor needed. So they say then they had to find out what to do with all these black folks on their hands, who they hadn't trained, who they hadn't educated, who in fact they had made it illegal to educate a little over 150 years ago. That's what some of our militant friends are saying. Y'all ain't hear this from me. I want to stay on television, so y'all, this ain't me talking. This is what my militant friends are telling me. And they say that once technology outgrew the need for unskilled labor, they say then they removed the jobs from the inner cities and replaced it with guns and drugs for them to kill themselves with. And those who were left standing, they put them in prison and then privatized it so they can make money again off of it. That's what they're saying, y'all. I don't want no parts of the white man's system. That's the white man's system. Don't bring me that. You a lie. This ain't the white man's system. This is all our system. This is all our system. That's a sellout. Our forefathers worked 300 years for free to make this the richest country in the world. And I'll be damned if we should pass it along and stay in the neighborhood, locked on the corner, talking about this is somebody else's system. This land is our land, and this country is our country, and we better get off the corner, and we better start handling our business and fight back and get what we deserve.
Make sure two things. First of all, you got to understand the nature of the problem. in this city and across this country. And contrary to what anybody tells you, black folk are not progressing in America. You're going backwards. In proportional terms, you're exactly where you were 140 years ago. And what you're doing right now is enjoying the fruits of a social illusion that gives you the impression that somehow you're advancing because you can socialize with people. Because you can go sit in other people's schools and go to other people's hotels and go to other people's restaurants and go to other people's communities and go to other people's businesses. That is not progress, that's an illusion.
In other words, Jim Crow Sr. is dead, but Jim Crow Jr. is alive and well.
Thought Sambo would die a timely death, but no, someone gave him life and wealth. Willie Lynch, he wanted you to go insane. And here's the game. He said, take away all the things that would impress their identity, all the things that would genetically prove that they've got more on it than you. And by the time we get to the end, it will be time very well spent, because if you can keep them all on the dizzy, you will hear them call each other bitties, bitsons and hoes and things of that sort. So here's the thing you must exhort. You must always distrust on self, and that wealth is never a part of the scheme, just the chase of an impossible dream. Make the dream the scheme, and you shall have a nigga for sure in less than in half.
He is not allowed to photograph, what does that say? Photograph, videotape any proceedings per Judge Murphy.
Time Warner spokesperson Bill Hasso says the cable company is investigating whether or not Hudson is trying to cash in on his show. If so, the program could be canceled.
We live in a Jim Crow society, and many times we are told, black people are told, to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. And Time Warner's broken rules, and they give you specific, they're putting me in rules that they came up, it's illegal rules. But it's like pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. So we're going to have a demonstration today, and we're going to see if you can actually pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Your instructions are to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You can only pull. You can only get up by pulling yourself up by your own bootstraps. Go ahead. You have 30 seconds. Pull yourself up. Pull yourself up. Come on, man. Put something into it. Oh, you're violating the law. You're violating the law. Pull yourself up, sir. Sir, can you pull yourself up? Hey, sir, you got about 2 seconds. You got to pull yourself up.
I can't!
Are you telling me you cannot pull yourself up by your own bootstraps?
I can't!
Ladies and gentlemen, the fact of the matter is, we all need somebody to lean on. You've heard the song. And without someone to lean on and to push up, you can't get off. You can't. You can't push up. Pulling yourself up by your own bootstrap is a fantasy that causes you to try to futility. The reality is America owes the African-American man. The reality is Akron owes the African-American man. The reality is that the African nation, that Akron owes the whole African continent, because if it wasn't for the black labor whose sweat died and was mistreated to bring you rubber and to then port it over to Akron and then have black men, mainly black men, in sweatshops getting all kind of, what do they call it? What? Lip light, all kind of incarcerants in your system. Understand that Goodyear Tire and Rubber exploited Africa. Understand that. Then they brought it here, and then they built up a whole industry where roads was developed starting here in Akron. But let's not ever forget that there is a price to pay, that if you see people who are doing what they're supposed to do, we cannot economically isolate them, but we must bring them into inclusion. And that is what this is about. You cannot expect me to pull myself up from my own bootstraps. It's not possible. Each one needs one. We all need someone to get along. And that's why this is about. because we are saying